Good evening. This side Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer Treasury Consulting. As we speak, Treasury Consulting is a multi-asset, multinational hedge fund, which effectively means we are taking positions in various asset classes of the globe. But like I repeated many a times, and I would continue to repeat that we are a proprietary hedge fund. By proprietary, I mean to say no third party. I repeat, no third party can invest capital in our funds. Guys, I already told you that contracting is an art. And unfortunately, people believe it is a science. Science is a subject of strict rules: physics, chemistry, biology. Strict rules. Of course, the scope of innovation is always there, but rules are strict. While art is boundaryless, beyond boundaries, no boundary of the universe can support the art. Similarly, contracting is an art beyond boundaries. The more you would be putting in a contract, the more you securing yourself. Simple. We are shooting this video on 11th November 2022, which means practically 7 to 8 days since FTX, one of the so-called commodity exchanges crypto exchanges in the world, collapsed. Officially speaking, FTX already filed for bankruptcy in United States. And there are lots and lots of talks which are going about FTX. We have made 4 or 5 podcasts. They would be coming on YouTube channel as we'll get the time. But I would like to raise something which many less people willing to raise, which is called judicial management. Unfortunately, in the last 2 to 2.5 years, I did notice that hedge fund liquidations. Now, technically speaking, hedge fund liquidation mean that you are a hedge fund. You have taken money from investors. People invested in your fund, billions and billions of dollars. And then the market moves, sudden swing, and you lost all of your money. If you open Google and check, unfortunately, effective 2020, the hedge fund liquidations per quarter is either growing or growing at a very, very decent pace, which is a clear alarming signal for the world of investments. But unfortunately, no one willing to touch this topic. Because if you touch this topic, it means you are hurting the ego of big people who are sitting in United States of America. So I thought, let me take that work in my own hands. Guys, remember when you make a contract, especially when you make an investment contract, suppose there is a big pension fund, there is a big hedge fund, there is a big depository financial institution, there is a big, I would say, sovereign wealth fund, probably any government sponsored agency, and you are investing a very heavy money in these firms, or probably investing a considerable part of your funds. Please understand that. I repeat, please understand that in your contracting, maybe your solicitor, maybe your lawyer, or maybe we have a joint law firm. Sometimes what happen, these companies create joint law firms, which means individual investors will not spend money towards the law firm. Rather, we have a common law firm appointed by the hedge fund, pension fund, SWF, and this law firm is helping on a very decent charges, okay, charges to the investor to form the contract. Reason being, the nature, the appetite, and the investment style of each investor differ. But do remember, I repeat, do remember that you should not be solely dependent on this law firm. Please do take a note of that, please. Like I said, one of the most important clauses, boilerplate clauses, is arbitration, alternate dispute resolution, the governing law, who would be appointing the arbitrator, what would be the procedure, role, and responsibilities of him or her, whether there is any arbitral panel, arbitration tribunal, presiding arbitrator, or set of arbitrators would be there or not. Please do understand, nowadays, since lot of liquidations are happening, we have seen in the crypto market at least 7 to 8 hedge funds winded up in the last 2 to 3 months. And when I'm using 7 to 8, I mean to say big hedge funds. How many small hedge funds in crypto winded up? No one having any data. No one having any data. I doubt whether anyone compiling any data or not. Please do add one important clause, which is called judicial management. I repeat, which is called judicial management. Please be note that judicial management is of many types, and I cannot cover the whole concept of judicial management in 30 minutes video. But in this, I try to cover the main part or the crux in contracting terms. Judicial management is a method of restructuring when you have a debt. Alternatively speaking, when you raised a very huge amount, just like FTX, from the market, probably big high net worth individual, big clients and all, and you defaulted or you winded it up. Please remember, I repeat, please remember that the definition of default, definition of winding up, definition of debt restructuring, and definition of winding down and fraud should be explicitly defined. Because if you ask me, then FTX, the crypto exchange, is not a bankrupt organization. Rather, it's a fraud. Because after 48 hours of declaring yourself bankrupt or filing bankruptcy petition in United States, there are allegations that the client funds, basically the clients who invested their funds, there is a shortfall of $1 billion at least in the client funds. There are other allegations that client funds to the tune of 1 billion to 10 billion, I repeat, 1 billion to 10 billion, transferred to the trading company of that Warren Buffett, SBF. Why I called him Warren Buffett? Because media already titled him as Warren Buffett, especially Bloomberg. Please check Bloomberg sufficiently hyped him, and you know what is happening. Anyways, so this is a fraud. And in this eventuality, when a company is declaring a bankruptcy, I repeat, in this eventuality, when the fraud signals are apparent, when we can apparently see and challenge that this is not a bankruptcy because of economic situations. Example, you are a good crypto exchange, you have proof of reserves, you have everything, you bought Bitcoin at 20,000. Example, all of a sudden Bitcoin reach 500. Any political news, non-political news, or any Russia-Ukraine issue, whatever you say, and you hold a big portfolio in Bitcoin, the whole portfolio collapsed and you are bankrupt. This is not a fraud. This is not a cheating. This is market risk. This is bankruptcy because of market risk. But here we are talking about bankruptcy because of fraud. Henceforth, please remember that the judicial management clause, I repeat, judicial management clause should be appropriately defined. Because if it is appropriately defined, in this eventuality, when this organization files for bankruptcy, because why do you file for bankruptcy? You file for bankruptcy because you wanted to get rid from the third. Please to understand that judicial management is of two types. Number one, either you can get it done from the court, and court means that the party who is declaring himself bankrupt, this party is going to court and saying that I am bankrupt, I am unable to pay the creditors' money, I do not see a vision in my business, I do not see my business can survive in a near course of time, I wanted to file an application of which is known as bankruptcy petition. We'll have separate videos covering bankruptcy petition in detail. In this eventuality, the court, if feels, I repeat, if feels, would be nominating somebody who will take up the overall control of the company, including board of directors. And this person is known as judicial manager. I repeat, this person is known as judicial manager. Unfortunately, without quoting the name of any country or countries, they manipulated this. What they are saying, that judicial manager should be certified insolvency professional. When you add certification in anything, especially in the corporate sector, especially in the insolvency sector, which is so vast, which is so enormous, and every day a different case is coming before the judiciary, in this eventuality, you are limiting the scope of knowledge. And the end result, the insolvencies over insolvencies and the failure of that insolvency act. We have seen many countries who did this and they are paying the price of this. So practically speaking, their insolvency act or maybe different acts with the same nomenclature is already been more or less zero. Guys, please also remember that in this eventuality, the court has a right to appoint anyone as a judicial manager. He or she might not be a certified insolvency professional. Or alternatively, court can ask any relevant organizations. Many countries of the globe have relevant organizations who handle these nomenclatures. Now, by relevant organization mean an organization who handling only insolvency cases. Many countries of the globe have the provision of relevant organizations, but how many of them are highly successful? That is a big debate. Anyways, please understand that second case where judicial management is possible is known as the passing of a creditor resolution. The passing of a creditor resolution means that a good quantum of creditors, either in headcount terms, either in valuation terms, they will pass a resolution. They will move to court. Ultimately, you have to move to court. They will move to court and say that they are not happy with the current governance of that organization. Because of this, the organization ends up practically a bankrupt organization, and they want someone to take up this matter. Now, in this eventuality, court generally, ask somebody known as interim judicial manager, which means he is not final. The court granted him or her. Then there would be a separate voting in that creditors meeting, and the creditors, based upon his or her credentials, will decide whether they would agree to go with him or not. Because whatever he would be saying after creditors meeting would finalize him or her in writing, it would be final. And suppose creditors are saying no, they are saying they're not okay with the profile of that gentleman or a lady. In this eventuality, court will go ahead with another interim judicial manager, or probably ask a forum to appoint another one. But unfortunately, many countries of the globe have a demarcation in this, which is court can only order one or twice, sometimes thrice. Unfortunately, I strongly feel that when in hedge funds, the so-called family offices, the big high net worth individuals, and all these people, they invest their money, and if they define judicial management clause in a relevant way, in this eventuality, majority, I repeat, majority of their problems are resolved. But please do take a note of that. Always go ahead judicial management from the court orders, which I mean to say, from the angle of the hedge fund, never allow creditors to decide as far as the judicial management is concerned. Because if you are giving the power to creditors, then there is a thing called lobbying. Lobbying is something which is theirs by since the inception of human being. So if you are giving creditors enough power in writing, in articles of association, memorandum of understanding, special investment agreements which you are signing, then you are inviting lobbying. But if you give in writing and you saying that only the court is having the power to appoint the judicial management, then it would be good. But remember, there are many pros and cons when it were to court. Reason being, when we say court, then court of which governing law? Example, a hedge fund who formed at a tax haven, and this hedge fund is taking big funds from any big investor. And in case of judicial management, you are not mentioning the specific court, then indirectly you are mentioning the court of that tax haven. And we all know that the judicial system, I repeat, judicial system of tax haven is extremely weak. And if you are mentioning English law, in this eventuality, you are giving ahead that you would be entering in a very transparent legal battle, because English laws are considered highly transparent. But having said that, in English law, there are many permutations and combinations also. You need to understand these permutation combinations very well. It also raises a very important point. Suppose the party who invests the fund is an American party, while the party hedge fund is a British party. British party clearly mentioning, I will go ahead with the local laws. In case of any eventuality of judicial management, while the investor, is saying that forget English law, I will go with the New York law. And suppose both came to conclusion that any law would be applicable, then in the event of judicial management, the hedge fund will go to London, the party will go to New York, and here comes anti-judicial management. Hedge fund will try to take anti-judicial management order from English court, while the investor will try to take it from the New York court. And here comes principle of comity. Henceforth, guys, investment agreements looks very rosy because people generally do not focus them. People always see, oh my God, that exchange or big investor is giving me 10%, 20%, 30% return. They simply sign the contracts. End result, when this exchange or an individual winds up, they lose it. Nowadays, it is happening with FTX investors. Henceforth, it would be very important for investors to understand that. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting Group. You knew my personal number, +91 9899 242 978. I repeat, +91 9899 242 978. We promised our legal desk to open. Now, God willing, on a regular basis, we are uploading the legal issues. If you link the law with the financial management, beyond exception. Have a great time ahead.